Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new session with Rights and Responsibilities Awareness Initiative. Summertime, weather getting better, so let's hope always for the best. Today, we are lucky to have Megan Jenner from Cohen Highley to talk to us about a very important topic, which is purchasing a home, the legal aspects, the legal steps to purchase home or property. So thank you very much, Megan, for being here with us today.
Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Megan Jenner, and I'm a lawyer at Cohen Highley. A large part of my practice focuses on residential real estate transactions. So I'm here tonight to talk to you about that process and what steps are involved legally. We will keep an eye on any questions that you might post. So if you do have a question, go ahead and ask. Just kind of a disclaimer from the start, the information tonight is just general information, not to be taken as legal advice, but we can answer general questions. And if they're more specific than that, then we can chat offline too. So, just 1 second there. Okay, so step one, before you even start looking at a home, the first step would be to consider your budget and where your funds are going to come from. So you should need if you need a mortgage, you should reach out to a mortgage lender ahead of time or speak to your bank and get some information on what amount you might be pre-approved for. So then you can take that with you, go shopping, and be certain that you know what you're comfortable spending ahead of time. So another consideration actually before you get into the shopping experience for a property is whether or not the new ban on foreign buyers buying property in Canada applies to you. So in case you weren't aware, in January of this year, there was a new law set out that's called the Prohibition on the Purchase of Residential Property by Non-Canadians Act. And this law says that it's now prohibited for non-Canadians to purchase directly or indirectly any residential property for a period of 2 years. So if you are looking to buy a property, you're going to need to know if this applies to you, because if you're considered a non-Canadian and are banned from buying property, there are significant penalties associated with buying a property if you go ahead ignoring this law. So who is a non-Canadian? The law says that a non-Canadian is anyone who's not a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident of Canada or a person registered under the Indian Act. There are certain exceptions. So if you're not sure whether you meet these definitions, we can always chat about that to get an answer. And there's certain properties this also doesn't apply to. So one of the exceptions is for temporary residents. This ban will not apply to temporary residents who are either enrolled in an authorized program of study, have a work permit, or are otherwise authorized to work in Canada if they meet certain criteria. So I won't get into those criteria here. It's a bit of a checklist. So just keep that in mind. Temporary residents who have a work permit or enrolled in an authorized program of study won't be considered a non-Canadian where this ban applies to them. Another area, or another person, I guess, where this ban won't apply is to spouses of those who are Canadian citizens. So if you are a non-Canadian and you are married to or common law partners with someone who is Canadian citizen or permanent resident, subject to a few more exceptions and guidelines, this might not apply to you then either. So once you know that you are good to buy property in Canada, and you know what amount you are able to spend, then you can start shopping around. And you might do that with a real estate agent, or you might do that privately. What you need to do once you do find a house that you're interested in is you make an offer on it. Usually the real estate agent helps you do that. And you might decide to include conditions in that offer, or you might not. Some conditions that you might include are something about financing. Maybe it's a home inspection. Maybe it's a condition on selling your current home. If you're buying a condo, it could be conditional on a status certificate review. A status certificate is something that comes from the condo corporation. It gives an overall summary of the state of that condo corporation and gives you an idea about what you'd be getting into as a buyer into that condo corp. Another condition you might include is a lawyer's review of the agreement. So this day in the market, we're seeing a bit more action with conditions included. There was a point where we weren't seeing many conditions, and if you've heard of just firm deals, those are kind of ones that were being firm offers anyways. They're made without including any conditions. So we're getting a bit back into a market where conditions are being seen a bit more. So you make an offer on a house, whether it has conditions or not. If the seller accepts your offer, then you get to work on fulfilling your conditions. That might mean you waive the financing condition when you're comfortable that your lender will be able to fund the amount you need. Maybe you've had a home inspector come in and you're happy with his report. Then you can waive your home inspection condition, that sort of thing. So once the conditions are waived, then you have a firm deal. At that point is when you will want to engage a lawyer. So we would be involved in a number of steps from that point. If you didn't shop with a real estate agent as well, we're able to help you prepare the offer. Most of the time you'll be working with an agent on that, but we can help if you're not. So some of the things you'll do with your lawyer. So the lawyer will review the agreement. You've had it sent to your lawyer. They'll take a look at it and note all of the specific dates, the closing date, the requisition date, which is an important one on the buyer's lawyer's end. We'll look at any additional requirements and anything that's listed as chattels that will stay or go, and just certain we will review the agreement and make sure we know what we're working with. Okay, and if you are getting a mortgage, then we will be communicating with your lender. The lender sends mortgage instructions to the lawyer's office. So when there is a mortgage involved with a lender, the lawyer actually represents the buyer, but also the mortgage lender. So they have two clients in the deal. It's the bank and it's also the purchaser themselves. So we communicate with the lender so that we know what they require for the mortgage. We prepare those mortgage documents, review them with you later on, and get them all signed up. We also order a title search. So this is looking at what is on title to your property. If there's anything that needs to be dealt with or removed, like a seller's current mortgage, we'll make sure that that's taken care of. The lawyer will have until the requisition date, which is found in your agreement, to send a letter to the seller's lawyer requesting any item on title to be dealt with. If you're buying a condo, oops, I already did that one. If you're buying a condo, there will be a status certificate that the condo corporation provides, like I mentioned a bit earlier. That will be reviewed by the lawyer as well. So in that package, the condo corporation sends kind of a summary document of the state of the condo corporation, what their reserve fund, which is the extra money that they save for major repairs, what that's looking like, what the contributions to that fund are by each unit owner. It'll give us an idea of their financials, their budget. We'll see their insurance, kind of all the sorts of things you want to know about the condo corporation will be provided in the status certificate. Lawyer will review that and comment on it for the buyer. If there are multiple buyers who are going to own the house together, you'll discuss with your lawyer how you'll take title. So is it in both people's names? Is there more than two people? Is it going to be one person registered only? There's a couple of different ways where people can own jointly. So there's a term called joint tenants with the right of survivorship. And essentially that ownership is, it means that if one person on title were to pass away, the survivor becomes entitled to the whole interest in the property by right of survivorship. The other method of holding title with someone else is called tenants in common. And in that way, you can separate your interests so that it doesn't pass to the survivor automatically on a death. So your lawyer will help you decide what way to take title is best for your situation. The lawyer will make sure you have property insurance in place, and your mortgage lender will have often specific requirements for the property insurance so that they're named properly there and whatnot. So we'll make sure that that matches what the lender needs. We will purchase title insurance on the buyer's behalf too. That insurance is different than the homeowner insurance, and it's an insurance that protects against losses from defects in your title. So that's the legal ownership of your property. Any defects in that ownership is protected, generally speaking, I suppose, by title insurance. Okay, we would make sure that property taxes are paid up until the closing date, and if they're not, we deal with that with the seller's lawyer, make sure that they're adjusted for properly. Then with funds, you'll have a down payment of some sort from the buyer themselves. We supplement that with the mortgage advance that comes from the lender. So that's a bit of the numbers that need to get worked out, what we need from the buyer personally to go with the mortgage amount. Then we prepare all of the closing documents for the purchaser, and we prepare the closing documents for the mortgage. And we get together, we meet with the purchasers before the closing date to sign all of that. And then comes your closing date. So on closing, we, as the buyer's lawyers, would exchange closing documents with the seller's lawyer. We would wait for the mortgage money to come into our trust account if you're getting a mortgage. And we would have already got your down payment that's to supplement the mortgage. So once we have all of the buyer's money and we're happy with the closing documents from the seller's side, we would send closing funds to the seller's lawyer. I'll step back a little bit, but we will pay land transfer tax too, and I'll explain what that is in my next slide. But that is something that's done on the closing date as well. And once the seller's lawyer has money from the buyer's lawyer, then the transfer, which is maybe more commonly known as the deed, that is registered into the buyer's name, and the mortgage is registered as well. So a little bit on the land transfer tax. So buyers pay land transfer tax. It's tax calculated on the purchase price, a bit of a formula that I won't get into, but it's based on the purchase price, paid by the buyer, not by the seller. There is a refund opportunity for first-time home buyers. You have to meet some exceptions, and the maximum rebate there is $4,000. So if your land transfer tax bill is $5,000 and you're a first-time home buyer, $4,000 of that will be a rebate, and you're still supposed to pay, or you'll still have to pay the $1,000. So a couple of points to qualify for the first-time home buyer land transfer tax refund is that you must never have owned a home before. And in the case of spouses, neither party could have owned a home while they had been spouses. You're only entitled to the rebate one time. And if you believe you are entitled, or if you need to discuss it with your lawyer ahead of time, you'll do that. And if you do qualify, then there's certain documents and sworn statements that have to be completed in order to qualify or to actually claim the rebate. Okay, and then once the deed and the mortgage, I guess, have been registered into your name as the buyers, you'll be entitled to keys. So it's it can be a time-consuming process, the closing date, and it all really depends on the timing of getting the mortgage money. So it's not usual to count, or not usual to move first thing in the morning. If we have to wait on mortgage funds to come into the buyer's lawyer's trust account, and then we have to send that to the seller's lawyer, they have to receive it, we have to exchange documents, can take a bit of time. So if there's no mortgage, it moves a little bit quicker. But one, I guess, word of caution is don't book your movers expecting that you'll be in your new house at 9 a.m. The timing is difficult to predict, so it depends on a number of factors. And then once the deal is closed, you've got your keys. I think most firms anyways notified the municipality or the city where you've purchased who the new owners are. And then from the law firm's point of view, you'll get a final report as well. So the lawyers prepare a report for the purchaser and a report for the mortgage lender. And the report for the purchaser anyways will include the documents that you signed with the lawyer during your meeting, and a copy of the deed, copy of the mortgage, that sort of thing. And that's about it. So that's kind of an overview of the process of purchasing a home, high-level overview of what the lawyer would do and what legal aspects are involved. Again, this is just general information, so it's not intended to represent a definitive legal opinion on any of the topics. But if you do have specific questions particular to your circumstances, then I'd be happy to chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much, Megan, for this fruitful presentation. We do have some questions, if you don't mind. Okay. So can we, for example, can we hold the deal on a condition? So based on this, if this condition did not apply, we can cancel that deal. For example, I will purchase this home if I was able to obtain the mortgage.
Right, so that sounds like a financing condition, and within the condition itself, it will say, you know, the buyer has until March 25th to satisfy the condition. If it is not waived before that date, then there is no deal, right? So if there's never a waiver of the condition before the date specified, then that's right, the deal is null and void.
And in that case, if there is any amount was paid, for example, before the deal, that they should be paid back?
Yeah, so that will depend what's in the agreement itself. So this is specific to each circumstance, I suppose, but the condition usually should also say what happens to the deposit. If there was a deposit made, the condition might say the deal is null and void if it's not waived by X date, and at that point the deposit is returned. So it depends what wording is in there.
Thank you very much. So another question, what if after we've sealed the deal and the ownership was transferred from to, what if there was some kind of defects discovered in the real estate? So what would the solution for this might be?
It's very, very specific to what actually came up. So that's one that I probably won't answer in a general sense because it'll be too specific. So if someone has that as a real situation, I'm happy to chat about it. But yeah, that one's a bit too fact dependent.
I see. I totally understand. So from your experience, do you think that the real estate market will go up or down based on the current facts and based on your workload? This is a question that I've read it as is.
I think we're on a little bit of an upswing right now, but it's hard to predict. I think we're on an upswing anyways for right now.
Yeah, because the only concern now is the prices, and we can notice that they are going up in a way that could not be affordable for so many of us.
That's right. And real estate agents too, they've got I would say a really good grasp usually on the actual market trends for listing and what's selling and what's falling through before it even comes to the lawyers. So those are also good contacts to get some statistics from usually.
And last but not least, so we've got a very interesting and important question about how we could save ourselves from potential fraud.
Yeah, the fraud, that has become quite an issue these days. On my end, it's kind of on the lawyers and the the lawyers and the real estate agents involved in the transactions to ensure that our clients anyway are who they say they are and they own the property they say they own. So we have due diligence to do to make sure everyone is who they say they are. For protecting yourself from fraud, you do like title fraud anyways. You want to make sure you have title insurance in place on your property. So from the homeowner point of view, title insurance is important. And then whoever you've got working with you, real estate agent, and well, I guess this is more for sellers, but the lawyer involved on a deal for a seller and for the real estate agents involved with sellers too, we'll have to make sure that we're getting proper ID and we're confirming that it's valid, not tampered with, that sort of thing. And actually there is going to be new Law Society rules regarding us getting ID from our clients, and those will be a bit stricter requirements coming in place also to help with this fraud issue.
Yeah, this is very important, and this is actually put a huge responsibility on the lawyer's shoulders because they need to confirm the identity and make sure that things are valid, which is really need to be taken care of in order to protect. It's better safe than sorry.
You're right. Yeah.
So in case, if I may just take a look to our platform here to see if there is any other questions. So, well, in that case, I would like to thank you very much, Megan, for your time today. That was a very short, precise, and straightforward presentation. Address the points that we would like to have. So thank you very much for this. And we are looking forward to have you again with us at another session with Rights and Responsibilities Awareness Initiative.
Great, thank you for having me.
All the best. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we are looking forward to have you with another session with Rights and Responsibilities Awareness Initiative. All the best to everyone and be well.
Thank you.